Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. This week in episode 27, battle against the forces of Palaran is joined as thunder rumbles and complications arise. Hello and welcome. I'm Adam, your friendly neighborhood game master, and joining me are...
Hi, I'm Drew, and I'll be playing Dosk Tyr, Regal of Nothing, co-inventor of the coffee date, and soon-to-be co-inventor of the WM date.
Mine's much shorter. I'm Robin, and I'll be playing the Duchess of Fury.
I'm Dez, and I will be playing Ramnet, prophet of the Obsidian God, and apparently dear enough to disrupt a political marriage.
Yeah, it's good.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to extend our collective effusive thanks to a mysterious benefactor who delivered us all a wonderful little dinner for our recording this evening. So if you catch any belches that I fail to edit out, that will be why. Thank you very much to an extremely supportive listener.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, truly.
Thank you.
So sweet. Amazing.
Before we get started, let's see about stat growth, and that can start with Dez's bonus XP.
All right. Where are my dice? Here are more of my dice. Okay. That is a pair of 8s, which is good enough.
You get a mortal experience point.
I mean, I only ever get mortal experience points, so...
Well, yes, but... You know.
It's useful to distinguish for others and possibly for the listeners, I know.
Sure.
And also, I enjoy spurious rigor for its own sake.
This is no.
Verily, 'tis the brand.
Tis. Anybody spending any experience this time?
It appears that I have 6, so I suppose I could do something. How much does it cost to up coordination?
Stats
10?
are
Okay.
10 XP apiece.
Yeah, I think I may save for that, because I have 4 different skills in that at 1, or in the case of stealth, 1 plus a master die.
And our nobilis sound like maybe we are not spending anything.
I don't think so.
This would be cramming an hour before the test at this point. It's too late.
Exactly. I did not look that far
true.
ahead.
Yeah, rather true. All right. Well, in that case, it's time to recap the events of the previous episode for ourselves and our listeners. This time, I believe that the Regal of Nothing himself has the summary for us.
I do at that. So, last time, Ramnet and I heard a new letter slide under the door at Asha's place, the letter being as unhinged and as not written by Ramnet as ever, but directing us toward the Sirthans. We knew there were 3 Sirthans in the city, at the cost of Ramnet's lovely fingernails, and when we confronted Ia, she revealed one other. Linara, the Regal of Ignorance, whose name was hard to hold in my head for reasons that became clear once I learned, of course, of her domain. So we discussed using a Sirthan city as a weapon against Palaran, and Ia even offered to lend us some of her power in the bargain with conditions. Among them, a political marriage between me and her initially, and then between whomever and whomever from our respective... I stalled for time. Lissa, meanwhile, had sent Brother Umber to the city walls to help with the defenses. Some god or other help him, since I'm not sure the big they will. Lissa had given Imbi some money for art supplies, quite a large sum of money actually, before taking Apatia to the brothel she'd been so keen on exploring, which was where the Sirthans and Ramnet and I arrived in the vast darkness of a small room upstairs when we left for Mata. Lissa and I agreed, to the surprise of neither of us, that political marriages were out of the question, while Romnit did the equivalent of harrying the lands and salting the earth in a game of cards with the Sirthans. Apatia and Lissa went to bed, as did Romnit and I, paired, but the pairs separately, to be clear. And the next morning, Lissa and Apatia made their way to the battlefield, while Romnit and I made our way to the highest, darkest point in Lid Manor. And as we made our way, we heard the sound of gathering thunder.
Excellent. Thank you, Drew, Dosk, both, for that extremely helpful summary. We pick up, in this case, more or less right there. Apatia, Lissa, approaching the square where the forces of Theret are arraying themselves prior to this sortie to the south. And Dosk and Romnet approaching Lid Manor as the sun peeks over the horizon and thunder booms out over the ocean. We will start there at Lid Manor, near the top of the highest hill in Theret, because as you are walking up, you are approaching closed gates. The gates are closed, and the guard seems to maybe be in the process of changing, or perhaps Lid Manor is understaffed because of all of the soldiers in the square. Regardless, there is a somewhat bedraggled person standing just outside the gate looking panicky, whose face blossoms in relief when he sees you. He seems youthful, mid to late teens perhaps, very sort of used to the outdoors, kind of sun-dark skin and weathered clothes, but he stands to rigid attention, almost exaggeratedly so, and gives you probably one of the sloppier bows you've ever seen as you approach, but holds it until you get close, I guess. As you walk up and stand near the gate, he's still holding his bow, seemingly waiting for permission to stand up.
Rise, if you would.
He tries to bolt upright, almost overbalances backward, and sort of, finds his balance again and says, Rachar, milords, Cyprian, messenger, this is the place oh gods. I'm Cyprian. I'm a messenger from Laurentun. I need to speak with Ilari Crate. Do you know where Mistress Ilari is?
I can't say that I do at this precise moment. She has, of late, been a guest in this manor. You may have noticed the city under siege. How did you arrive?
Oh, chartered a rowboat, saw the army, went back to the nearest fishing village, and paid someone to row me into the harbor. It wasn't cheap, but I needed to get here as fast as I could.
I truly hope that the recipient of your message is a spectacular tipper.
He says, knowing she isn't.
Oh, Mr. Solari knows better. Yeah, Cyprian does not have any situational awareness here, and is an open book. But he says, there's trouble back in Laurentun. I really, really need to speak to her.
So the gates are closed. Do they appear to be locked in any way?
Well, your knowledge of the manor is that there's like a block that can be put in to keep them from swinging or rolling open. And probably if nobody's at the gate, they are chalked, so that they won't move. But
sure. I think time is of the essence. And I do also feel for Cyprian. I think we need to unshock the gates, which is probably within the realm of an easy domain miracle. I simply need I need the chalk to be in nothing long enough for the gates to become mobile.
Alternatively, Do you know of any postern gates?
Almost certainly I do.
This is probably still the way he's going to choose to go in.
I mean, of course.
I think I think in character, I would strongly hope someone is watching me do this, and it will take less time than going around to the back.
Dusk, of course I am
although,
watching
and you're
you
right
do
to point
this.
this out. And that is the most important. But ideally, someone who is not happy to see me here sees that they can't stop me from being here.
What's the role to cause Crisis Tear to be looking out the window at precisely this moment?
Afraid there isn't one. It has been a little while since Crisis Tear was up this early. So
nobody decided to be the nobilis of pettiness.
Oh, that would be lovely.
So it's a trivial miracle for you at this point to just, make the chalks not be there. You swing the gates open and Cyprian goes, "Oh, I didn't think to try them," and starts to look like he's about to dash through the gates, and then realizes he has no idea where he'd be going, and sort of looks back and forth and says, "Well, after you, my lords," and waits for you to enter.
Sure, we make for the doors. We don't let Cyprian get ahead of us so that he doesn't get murdered or something.
Right. Now,
I'll shut the gates behind you.
Probably have a.
Yes, I will shut the gates behind me. Thank you for thinking of that, both in character and out.
Ramnet's got it. Yeah. Gates are shut. You head into the manor. I'd presume that Dusk has a decent idea of where Ilari might be. If you wish to lead Cyprian to it.
I think, I would venture to say, even though this is kind of a world thing, that it's more or less on our way to at least point him in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So as we're rising through the manor, I tell him to make his intent extremely clear in a city under siege. I commend him again on his good work. I give him, do I have money on me? I think I have money on me.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I give him the tip that Grandma's not going to, and and we move ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I think I've just come up with the words that you could say, Drew, to cause immense psychic damage to Robin.
I mean, I haven't. We're not on the same wavelength.
Oh, to Larry.
Yeah, I mean, if they're in some hypothetical future where we have a real falling out, Dusk and Alyssa, maybe that'll come up.
So
today we are allies. Friends, and friends don't do that to friends.
You can tip Cyprian somewhat, but you can't tip Cyprian nearly as extravagantly as Lyssa usually tips people, lacking the wealth advantage. I could certainly rule that you have some coins on you, but not enough to really buy much of anything. But hey, better than nothing. If you're not seeing Cyprian directly to the door and into the room, then we will leave him scurrying off in the direction that you think Ilari might be in as you ascend the manor, and we will jump over to Lyssa and Apatia as that the last echo of that boom of thunder rolls away. You're looking at a central square in Therrit, overflowing, almost literally, with reasonably well-organized ranks of soldiers in mostly gleaming armor with mostly well-kept weapons. Not all exactly standing rigidly at attention, but maintaining decently good order. It's pretty easy to see sort of on a nearby balcony overlooking the square, some of the kind of command structure of the army, including Melissus, up on this balcony, kind of taking stock of everything, making sure everyone is there and that they're accounted for. And Apatia, turns to Lyssa and says, "Oh, the reflections are very sharp, but that thunder, it really gets into the bones."
I'm worried we might have company. Can I look with the sight and see if there's anything out in the direction of the thunder? Any suspicious drowned kids?
You don't see signs of Philia, nor do you see signs of Remulus, but that doesn't exactly make you think they're not hanging out in the wings either. It just means that they're far enough away that, you couldn't make them out from here with mortal or divine sight.
And the storm does not have any tinge of the miraculous to it.
It doesn't, but also there isn't really a storm yet. There's just some clouds.
Okay. That makes me feel slightly better.
Ever so slightly. While you're doing this, you feel a little tug on your sleeve and look down, and there is Imbi, looking very serious as usual. She gestures kind of at the square and then gives you a questioning look. You glean from it, is this everyone?
I make my way over to Uncle Melly at this point, and I probably mutter something like, I'm not sure if it's everyone yet. We'll check in with the boss over here.
Imbi gives one of her very serious nods, and you lead the trio over to the building. You are recognized instantly as one of probably the tallest people in the city, and let in, and you are shown up to a second floor sort of study where the balcony extends over the square. Uncle Melly hears you enter and turns around, sees you, and kind of nods and says, well, I think we're close to ready. There's a couple of regiments still to show up, but hopefully 10 minutes or so we should be able to move. How does everything look out there?
Fairly orderly. A lot of frightened faces, but that's to be expected. We'll have to watch the storm.
Yes, I heard the thunder. Odd. Not a lot of morning thunderstorms this time of year.
That's both good and bad to know. Because I tend to associate storms like this with both pleasant and distinctly unpleasant company of the miraculous kind, if you get my drift. But they'll most likely be more interested in what we're doing on the beach than your men, I hope.
He nods and says, well, all right, we can hope at least. I think if you'll leave the little one with us so she can cloak our passage, it might be best for the two of you to head to the northern gates so that your distraction can begin when our horns sound the dismissal. Unless there's anything else I need to know.
I think that covers it, and I glance at the patient and
Apatia gives you a sharp-toothed smile that makes Melly go a little bit pale, and Imbi simply calmly folds her hands in front of her and stands very still.
Right, that's everything.
All right. So, you and Apatia depart for the northern gates. Imbi stands impassive in the study near Uncle Melly as the rest of the force assembles. As you cross back out over the square, you actually see a ripple of activity in one of the regiments, and looking where they're looking, you spot another creature similar to, though not identical to, the one that Apatia brought down the other day, flying up over the walls, and you start to hear the sharp cracks of crossbows firing at it. It comes crashing to a tiled rooftop not long after.
Oh, this is already going very well. Did Uncle Melly see this whole thing, or?
Yeah, he couldn't have missed it.
Yeah. I glance up to him and make kind of a gesture, like a hands in the air, what now?
Yeah. He simply shakes his head and spreads his hands.
All right.
It's, out of our hands now, so
yeah,
he begins issuing orders to get on the march. And
I turn with Apatia and be like, well, that is the last thing we wanted to see ahead of what's meant to be a surprise attack. Would you be able to amplify Fury, kind of like what you did last night, but with Fury?
She gives you a very wide, sharp-toothed grin. She says, "Well, as you have first-hand knowledge of, I am the Duchess of Sensation. I can't cause the emotion, but I can amplify the physiological parts, the feelings that are associated with being furious, elevated heart rate, breathing, that sort of thing."
That may do the trick. Maybe it'll be like a placebo effect, because I think you might be able to give me direction and maybe, help the range of my effects, and we're going to need everything we've got.
She nods somewhat solemnly, her smile dimming, and she says, "It is dangerous, even if they are all but mortals. We have approximately 50,000 all to ourselves, so I will do what I can to help." And she sort of grasps your near hand to her and kisses the back of it, and you feel the sort of tingling sensation all the way up your arm and then back down it. And she kind of gives you a little wink and then says, "Well, last one to the northern gate is, well, I don't know what you would say here. We would say a broken walnut."
I think we would say a rotten egg here.
"Ah, well, I figured it wouldn't be the same, but shall we?" And she, without really waiting for a response, lights off at a rapid jog that it looks like she could keep up for days.
She's got a bit of an advantage here, but
A little bit.
I'll play along.
Yeah, the two of you set out for the gates. Meanwhile, Ramnet, dusk. You have been climbing through Lud Manor as it comes awake. It's somewhat deserted feeling to dusk. It's not as though the manor is ever exactly bustling when there's not a feast on or something, but it feels quieter and emptier with everybody gone so early in the day. There are some servants about, some residents. You skirt as far as you can from Creus's quarters, but you can sort of hear him getting started on his day in the activity of servants and the coming and going of cooks. But ascending past those floors, you get to what is basically constructed as something of a bell tower, but instead of an actual belfry, there's just some nominally defensive rooms, as well as a bit of a romantic lookout spot. And among these, there are a number of interior rooms for storage or privacy. You head to the uppermost one. It's not huge, but it has more than enough space for the two of you and some chairs and tables, which are already in there. And when the door closes, you two are in darkness.
I suppose now is the time to do the thing. Hopefully, this goes well. And if it does, in this order, I will give you a kiss. We will aid Lissa, Apatia, and all of our other friends and family who may or may not deserve it. She does. My family may not. And then we'll learn what was in that letter. I can't bring myself to worry about it just now. I'm being very serious. But I want you to know that there's no one else I'd rather have with me for this.
I'm very glad to be here. This had best go well.
If you'd like to make me unperceivable, now would be an excellent time.
Mechanical question. What the fuck am I doing with that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, didn't you give me a shadow cloak?
Yeah, that's a matter
This is just the
putting the
moment. Yeah, this would just be the moment where you don the shirt prepared last episode. If anyone doesn't remember, I do not recall the name of the spell, but it was, here's a spell I prepared earlier.
The name of the spell is Shadow Jacket.
Shadow Jacket. I should have mentioned this in the summary. That is on me.
Because
we discussed over breakfast. Yeah,
it is fine. Yeah. So you don Ramnet's Shadow Jacket, and what then do you do to get started here?
Well, I look Although I can't exactly look in the direction I think Pelleran must be, and I feel for it with the sight. I fix a gaze, though it's not a gaze on it.
So this is, again, the sort of thing where the miraculous does happen kind of regardless, but mortal factors can impact the exact flavor. So what I'm going to ask you to do here is to roll a sense plus eerie for being able to zero in on what you need to zero in on quickly.
Okay.
That's going to be 2 dice for you because your sense is 2 and your eerie is 0.
Of course it is. No matches. High die is a 5.
Is there any way I can assist on this?
Not really, as you lack an Imperator Shard. But Dusk, are you standing, sitting, lounging, leaning, lying on the floor? Physically, what are you doing right now?
I am, without perhaps even realizing it, making myself as physically large as I can. I am taking a sharp intake of breath and puffing myself up importantly.
Okay. Your eyes aren't closed, but you are no longer perceiving the dark room around you. Instead, you are casting out with the sight, extending your senses, using everything at your disposal. In this case, you're actually casting about using your spirit divine attribute, and it takes some getting used to before you can orient yourself. So you're going to be doing that for a little bit, trying to zero in on the comparatively far off region that you are attempting to affect. Romnet, are you getting up to anything in particular while Dusk is trying to scare off a grizzly bear that isn't in the room?
Not especially. I think that I am mostly standing guard, such as it really, really weren't, given my lack of combat skills, at the door.
Okay.
The room is in darkness. There's minimal sensory, input, and I really don't need to be, disturbing or distressing or otherwise bothering Dusk as he does this rather dangerous and rather important thing.
Indeed not. So, we're going to have a standing sense roll from you. If you could give me a sense plus hearing. That's 5 dice for you, since that's primarily what you're going to be using to see if there is anything going on near or outside of this room.
That is a pair of 9s.
All right. So, for the moment, we leave Dusk puffing himself up, and we leave Romnet vigilant, facing the door to this dark room. We go back to Lissa's arrival at the North Gate, some 40 seconds behind Apatia, who has apparently either sprinted up the steps or jumped to the top of the wall.
If we could back up slightly. Just 1 second.
Yes.
I do have the spell Nyctopian Vision, which would likely assist in the whole it's very dark thing here, as that would allow me to use eerie instead of sight for seeing in darkness. Plus, whatever effects of the permanent attunement are.
Sure. If you would like to roll Sense plus Eerie 7 dice, we can have that as a standing roll as well.
I mean, I have to cast the spell first, so that would be 6 plus a master die.
Then, indeed.
So, pair of 8s becomes 3 8s for the cast, which means that happens and heightened minutes, so I suppose I'm just going to be recasting that thing every so often.
Sure. Or maybe it's even something. Yeah, it could also be something that you do when you hear something. Is pull it up.
And then Sense plus Eerie is 7 dice.
Well, we'll actually
Okay,
save
cool,
that one now for when you go to look
Okay.
for something.
Lovely.
So, good thoughts. Glad you had them.
I have useful skills sometimes.
Well, I mean, you
You
have
do
the
that.
skills at all times, and they're probably useful in other contexts most of the time. Unfortunately, you mostly pal around with demigods, so
Right.
In any case, at the gate, the north gate, Apatia is leaning above the gate on the crenellations, looking out over the slowly brightening plain north of the city at the army arrayed between the wall and the relatively far off river to the north. Lissa, are you headed up to join her, or are you trying to use the gate to exit?
I'm probably gonna head up to join her.
All right. She doesn't give you any particular acknowledgement as you head up the stairs and down the wall, but as you sort of draw close, she says, "It's very intimidating."
Yeah, that is. So much for being a pacifist, I guess.
Well, I can smell them from here. It feels slimy. There's something wrong here. I just wish I understood it.
Wrong how?
She gestures at the assembled army and says, "The scouts estimate there are 100,000 out there, but my best guess is that only 5% of them are people. Wild animals like these shouldn't have this attitude. It's very hard to describe, but I don't want to broadcast it to your senses. I know how how uncomfortable that can be. Have you ever felt like you could feel an emotion roiling off someone who is having a strong feeling? It's
Yes.
somewhat like that, but it's not an emotion, it's an attitude. It's rather unprecedented. But it's unified. The whole mass is of a purpose in it. And I, from where I'm standing here, can see a mountain lion. That mountain lion shouldn't be able to feel this way.
No, you're right. Can I know it's uncomfortable, but can you help me feel it?
She nods, she says, "As you wish." And she lightly touches your shoulder, just kind of where your collar, kind of lays it bare. And she puts a finger on it, and all of a sudden you are assailed from every direction by sensations. It doesn't appear that she can pick and choose which ones, so you can hear the stones you're standing on, and you can taste the movement of your hair in the breeze. But you can also detect this thing on the air. Slimy is a pretty good word for it. It feels like it kind of coats all of the senses that you encounter it with, one after the other, and there's a bitterness to it. It's almost like what's left when fury has faded, but purpose remains.
Interesting.
Almost the emotional equivalent of when you over toast bread and it just tastes like charcoal.
But I pick up nothing from this that suggests that the potential for fury has burnt out.
No, it would be inaccurate to say that what you're sensing is an emotion. But you're not really sure how you would categorize it because you don't usually have these senses.
Okay. I
That
do
comes
my
up a
best
lot
to
in this
keep.
game.
Huh?
So that comes up a lot in this game.
Yes. I do my best to keep a poker face against the assailment of sensation, because it always kind of staggers me to realize this is how Apatia experiences the world. And I smile at her and thank her, and say that it was insightful to have a better sense of how they're feeling.
She nods. She says, "I'm glad it didn't affect you over much, but I imagine we should get going. The army should be moving relatively soon, I should think. She kind of squints back south in the direction that they would be heading.
Yeah, I suppose it's time. I'm bad at this sort of thing. And I run a hand through my hair, kind of laughing nervously, and say, well, just promise me you'll make sure you pull out of this and get out of this okay.
She gives you a smile that shows all of her sharp teeth and is somehow both like a reassuring smile and a very predatory one at the same time. And she says, I will make my safety and yours my first priority. And she sort of reaches up to rest her fingertips on your cheek, and this sort of feeling of warm comfort radiates from them briefly.
That's adorable. I pull her into a warm embrace.
She stays there with you for a long moment, seeming to savor it, and then sighs and says, I think it's time. She sort of reaches back to where her blades are across kind of in the small of her back and grips them and says, well, I can go down the fast way. How about you?
I guess I need to take the slow way.
All right, well, I'll come with you. She sort of stretches, and then you guys head down the stairs, and the gates creak open as you approach them. A nervous-looking gateman who you guess is 15, working the winch, wearing an ill-fitting helmet and carrying a cudgel. It is clear he will be staying inside the city, but does not like being so close to the wall. The gates crack open. He doesn't bother opening it wider than two people need to exit, and they start to swing shut behind you. The sun crests, a little further over the horizon as you emerge from the shadow of the walls, and you can see the army ahead of you starting to stir. Pesha shoots you a grin, pulls out her blades to hold them in her hands, and says, I think you're the cavalry here. I'll run interference, but on your own time.
All right. I guess it's time to let go. And I reach out to Mavia.
All right. Could I get from you a sense plus empathy roll? Sense plus empathy is 3 dice for you.
Oh, Adam, you monster.
It's true.
Can I change up how I'm going to do this then?
I suppose. What do you have in mind?
I'm going to go with roll. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
This will be the backup plan.
All right.
I got no matches.
All right. So, Lissa, you reach out to Mavia, and I think by analogy. So the illustration I'm going to use here is, it is as though you are reaching to, strike a match to light a fire, and as your hand gets near, the fire roars to life in a column of flame, and you stumble backward from it. And Lissa is, for the time being, at a remove. Mavia comes to the fore. Apatia has seen Mavia before. Apatia has seen Mavia in action before. But, at least initially, Mavia takes no particular note of the presence off to her left, because that presence has no particular fury. However, there is a seemingly endless amount of dry tinder in the relatively near distance ahead, and also in the relatively near distance behind. What does Mavia do?
She goes ahead.
We've established before Mavia moves at a very rapid clip when she wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So an observer, like, say, the youth in the gatehouse, would see Lyssa and Apatia hustling but not sprinting, out a little ways away from the wall, trotting to a pause, and then a swirling mass of shadows sort of coalescing and then forming into a figure of a large woman with imprecise presence and tendrils of shadow waving impatiently around her. After a moment of relative disorientation, Mavia rolls or flows across the plain in the direction of this army. The army, for its part, doesn't seem to realize immediately what's bearing down on them, and as you get closer, Mavia, you can see it is teeming with tiny minds, with tiny furies. But there are deep wells of it, here and there, infrequently, in this mass. In fact, you can actually distinguish them somewhat. There are bright spots, real challenges that won't crumple the moment you vent your fury into them, but whose fury will be meaningful on a level that this rabble around them won't be. In short order, you have closed to within whites of the eyes distance, and the creatures and the people and the things that are not clearly one or the other are scrambling to face you. What is your opening gambit in this melee?
I'm going to do a lesser creation of fury in the vicinity around me, because, these little tidbits are insufficient. If I can light the kindling a bit, I'll be a bit more satisfied.
To an outside observer, a low nova of shadowy mist pulses outward from you, disappearing rapidly, and everywhere that it touches one of those small minds, they scream, shriek, bark, howl. Whatever the noise is that they make it in a furious fashion, and they fall, teeth and claws and other less evident appendages, on whatever is nearest. An outside observer who is paying more attention to the physicality of these things would see a 4-foot-long scorpion stinging a wolf at the base of its neck, would see a mountain lion savaging a spider the size of a terrier. All of these creatures turning on each other in a small radius around Mavia. This does get the attention of some of the greater minds, and perhaps a dozen of them start to converge on where you have impacted the line. Your tendrils go to work around you without you even having to really will it, and where they touch, carnage ensues. You really only have eyes, initially at least, for those greater presences. And as they converge on you, one sort of leaps into the fray from behind you. Focusing in a moment, you see twin flashes as something sinks into yielding flesh. And then the presence is gone. One less to worry about. We'll rejoin Mavia shortly. Dusk. You have it. It was hard because you've never expanded your senses to this scale before. You would think that in an abstract any space, like scrying out an entire realm with your spirit senses from a darkened room, scale wouldn't matter. And indeed, if this was just a patch of dirt, it wouldn't. No matter how big it was or how far away it wouldn't matter. But because it's not, because it is imbued with the presence of a god, the scale does matter. And you are made keenly, perhaps even painfully or frightfully aware of the difference in scale between you and your target. But your target is now in your sights. You have it.
With one hand, I withdraw the boon that the obsidian god gave me, and I hold it, and I press it ever tighter. Somehow I feel like it will shatter when the time is right, even though I don't know that. With my other hand, I map Palaran. In my mind, my hand becomes the shape of the country. Whether this is physically true, I of course can't confirm, and it hardly matters. But I come to feel that I hold the land in my palm.
Romnet, after an interval, you couldn't say exactly how long, you do hear a sound. It's not outside. It's behind you. A brief rustling as Dosk produces the boon in one hand. And then a short time later, the creaking of wood as he grips the edge of the table in front of him hard enough that the wood starts to warp and splinter. He seems unaware of this. Dosk, you have yourself poised, ready. And you find that there is a step to this process that you have never experienced before. You've always used power on a scale that the human mind can conceptualize. Even when it was big or splashy, you could see the mountain that you entombed the beast woman in. And you could see how far away from it you were. For instance, this is hard to conceptualize, and so you actually feel the miraculous power that you need to execute this plan having to coalesce, or first around and then in you. And you can tell that what you have to hand, just within yourself, is not going to be enough. But you are prepared for this. You can feel your grip tightening on the boon as you gather the power. What I need from you, though, is, let's say, a unconventional pairing of a sense plus lore roll, 5 dice.
Okay. That is a pair of 10s.
Very good. You are surprised that you're able to pick it out as the coalescing power around you intensifies into something that could be called, figuratively at least, a maelstrom. But there is another, smaller gathering center of power. It's hard to say what it would mean geographically, but it's sort of off to one side, as though you and Palaran were the nearer corners of an isosceles triangle. And this other one is a little more remote and a little smaller. You can just sense it, though, coalescing somewhere out there.
Does it feel of a piece with Palaran? Is it a splinter? Does the power feel the same? Are they like things? Or is it like reaching into water and finding something in it that is not water?
Perhaps the best analogy that I can make here is that if Palaran the region where a city lit up at night as cities are. You would be a beam of light shining into the sky. The, light at the Luxor casino, visible for miles around. This other center of power would be a little bit more like the spotlights at the beginning of a parade. Less stable, less bright, but nevertheless present, detectable.
Can I tell how close it is to me?
Not in any meaningful sense. The space is too abstract.
Can I tell how close it is to Palaran? Same answer?
It is
not within it, but beyond that, I don't know.
It seems like it's about as remote from you as it is from Palaran.
Okay. Do I feel it pushing back against what I'm trying to do?
No.
Do I feel it helping me?
No.
I note it, and I refocus on the task at hand.
All right. We will come back to you shortly. Romnet, you finally hear something from outside the room. Specifically, a lot of feet running around. Not as high up as you are currently, but that just makes it that much more notable that you can hear it as well as you can.
Okay. I want to make sure the door's locked. If there's anything I can see that could assist in making sure that it is, say, barred, then do that as well.
You could prop a chair against it. All right. You do so. Mavia.
Wasn't there another role we were going to do for Des?
Only a sight is necessary.
Need to see anything right now. So, yeah. Though, should it be necessary and I forget it, I will appreciate the reminder. You, Mavia, are enjoying a challenge. You have started to resolve some of the figures nearest to you from the masses because they are appreciable threats. It's clever, you see, because there are the minds, the presences, with a depth of fury and with a depth of understanding that attracts you. And that's where your attention has been. But when something that looks part lion, part scorpion, almost part man, but with a monstrous mouth, lobs quills at you, you ignore them at first. They can't touch you. You are protected by the fury you project. Mortal attacks mean nothing to you right now. Only it turns out, while the creature did not stand out, the creature was perfectly mortal. It has been given divine gifts. You find this out when one of the quills penetrates your Arcturitas and just barely misses your head. Suddenly, it becomes much more interesting. There aren't just a couple of dozen figures that could be meaningful to you. Any one of the creatures surrounding you could be an underappreciated threat.
I laugh, delighted at this opportunity. And I want them to know that they are no match for the Duchess of Fury, even if they can be of interest to me, and I'm secretly delighted by it. I want them to feel a furious disgust with themselves. It's an abomination for them to be wielding these miracles the way they are. It's an abomination for them to be constructed the way they are. I have feelings of slime and burnt toast and just malignant, unnatural growth. And it enrages me.
You project this feeling out to the creatures around you, and as you've moved through the melee, you have been spreading fury to the lesser minds around you. And they've been reacting. Some of them vent their fury in your direction, some at their comrades. Now, some of them start to direct that fury towards themselves. But it does seem that this has a greater effect. All of your fury has a greater effect on the least of the combatants. The higher up the hierarchy they move, the more subtle the effects, the rarer an all-out break, with their comrades becomes. This is, to some degree, frustrating and to some degree intriguing. And as your focus has to narrow down to individual threats as they near you, you start seeing a clearer overlay of, the real behind the prosaic, the spirit world, and the actual creatures, the bodies that are around you. They are a cacophony of parts. You feed that disgust into the feelings that you're radiating. You see people that are part cow, people that are part horse, horses that are part lion. You see snakes, and you smile. You see women who are part snake, and your smile gets wider. But you also see just chaotic hybrids. Something that has spider bits up front, and you're not even sure what creature that is in the back. It looks like a mammal, maybe. You see things that are kludged together in ways that, while fascinating, are clearly against the natural order. This doesn't perhaps offend you so much as it irks you that there is a coordinated effort to stymie expectations and to, mess with things, for lack of a better word. How do you approach the combat challenge in front of you? You're radiating your fury at all times, and the smaller creatures can't even get close to you, but the meaningful combatants are starting to converge on your position.
I am going... So we have kind of done this, but you're going to have to refresh my memory. I would like to buff up my aspect a bit in a particular way. So do an aspect miracle to make myself faster than any of them can perceive. Not perceive, but faster than, like there's lions and cheetahs and animals that are designed for speed out there, but I want to show that I'm the best.
Yeah.
You want to be the very best.
On the right character sheet here. So let's see.
Avia has a aspect of
one. So I think if you want to be faster than anything that's out here, that's going to be a level 3 aspect miracle. So it would take 2 miracle points to do this. Okay. You do have those, so you can certainly do that. And it will last for, maybe not the whole battle, but for the next bit, at the very least. It's not going to be extremely short-lived. For the next interval or so, you will be quite fast. How are you using this speed?
I'm using it to dart about them like the shadow I am, and perhaps rip out a throat from behind. If you're so gracious, I want to king shark someone and just rip them in half. I don't know if I'll be able to do that at the strength aspect of one, since it's all speed, but maybe inflict them with a bunches of a flurry of hits from Electo before they realize
Mhm.
that they're bleeding and crushed.
You start moving about at, and I mean this literally, terrible speeds, and lashing out with Electo, lashing out with your tendrils, lashing out with your hands, and in one or two cases, your teeth. And you start to notice that the rank and file and those that appear normal but have some kind of miraculous element gifted to them, you can crush. None of the actual humans and none of those with a miraculous presence among the monsters are vulnerable to simple melee. They will require penetration on the miracles in order to harm.
Hmm.
But you are currently making a real frightful mess of the area that you are in, especially now that you were able to perceive it. This is the sort of thing that your other half might be glad very few people are around to witness. The carnage is fairly extreme, and the noise is god awful.
No one cares about the other half. Let's not consider them.
You are correct. I'm certain no one does. Jumping back then for a moment, leaving Mavia to wreak havoc for a time. Dusk. You have, on occasion in your life, eaten too much and have felt the sort of taut, consistent, unwavering discomfort that comes from it. You are now feeling that in every part of your body and your soul. You are holding too much power. And, as you predicted, it isn't quite enough. You can't actually feel much of your body right now, or at least much of what it's doing, but you can feel the bladed goblet in your hand, and you can feel the stone grinding and creaking in your hand. You're still dimly aware of that other power source spooling slowly up in the distance, and you're acutely aware of Palaran filling your attention. What is the way that you go about harnessing this power, imparting your will to this miracle?
From a miraculous perspective, I try and exercise, for lack of a better term, the muscles I've been strengthening. I pull taut the part of me that's learned to make things unbe. I think back perhaps to the will-o'-the-wisp experience in the Cyan Mirror so long ago. The sheer defiance of a thing existing. Meanwhile, physically, I'm not fully aware of myself. But to stay centered on the task at hand, I do speak a poem. Which I believe I need to roll for.
Yeah, you will need your command plus perform verse, 5 plus a master die.
All right. So with the master die, that is, well, let's see, that could be 3 7s or 4 4s.
In this case, height probably trumps width because you are trying to do well, not fast.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
Have you a poem to speak for us?
I have. So what I say is, darkness, deep, unknown, unknowable, unseen, unseeable, fathomless, unfathomable, quiet and riotous, lightless and light. I draw now from your waterless wells, obsidian seas to shape new mountains, obsidian flames to eat a dry husk god. Wash this unmade wound once made, burn away the rot and growth alike. All Palaran now comes to nothing, for nothing comes to Palaran.
Damn, Drew.
I don't say this lightly. That gave me goosebumps.
That was
That
so
was
good.
very good. But back into the moment in which you speak it, Ramnet, you hear this. It's unprompted. Dosk starts speaking this ominous poem. And as the last sort of resonance of his voice fades away, you are aware, just on the periphery of your senses, of another sound. A sound I don't believe you've heard before. It's almost musical. It's just on the edge of the breeze. It comes to you muffled through the building and through the door and through the walls, and yet you can make it out. It's a sort of eerie, tuneless chorus of voices?
Can I identify what it is?
That is a very good question. And if anybody could identify what it is without, having encountered it before, I imagine it might be Ramnet. Roll me a knowledge plus lore, 6 dice.
3 5s.
After a few moments' thought, you realize you have heard a description of something like this before in song. An old maritime ballad that you may not have personally performed, but you've certainly heard on occasion. Particularly when some old sailor is very drunk and requests a song. There are stories of ships sailing back into port, soaked in blood with very few survivors, telling of hearing a song that may sound like this. It's said that no one ever sees the singers, but the sailors call them sirens. And to hear their song is apparently to become frenzied with violence or with terror, or both. So far, you don't feel either, but you are hearing it very faintly.
Hashtag just maybe a things.
The most ominous of the hashtags.
More or less, yeah.
Is that a thing that I could reasonably put together?
Connecting this song with Mavia?
Yeah, with the described but not witnessed Lissa's other.
We did, for what it's worth, definitely mention the part where it drives nearby people and peoploids mad with fury.
I love it.
Yeah, you could probably connect this up with what you know of Mavia, and I'm going to say, too, that you probably also, now that you've identified a touch point in lore, you might be able to connect it up to something that Dosk and Lissa told you about their experiences in Calavan a little while back, that something difficult to describe came out of the sea doing this.
Oh. Well.
Lovely sea snacks.
Yeah, go ahead.
The problem is none of my spells are quite on the mark for what I want to do, and given the nature of magic in this system, we have previously discussed the limitations of that.
Mm-hmm.
What, then, I think might be best suited would be a Darkwater Oracle, which allows the
Okay.
retroactive preparation for a to-be-declared-upon use threat to vaguely Deus Ex Machina a situation.
Indeed. So, let's see, that is intensity 4, 6 plus a master die. Yeah, go ahead and roll that.
That is 3 sevens with the master die.
All right. So yeah, you spend some time, doing the kind of abstract scrying that
I mean,
Darkwater
mostly this would have
Oracle-
been earlier I had done the Oracle.
Sure.
And here now are the results of the threat that I detected then. Namely, there have been prepared, presumably some level of miraculously potent earplugs, which I just pop into Dusk's ears.
Okay. That sounds good to me. So, Dusk, you don't notice this at all, but Romnet, you feel pretty secure in the knowledge that Dusk will remain unaffected and unperturbed by this for the time being. Mavia. Something is itching, but not on your body, it's in your mind. And it takes you a couple minutes to realize that it's a sound. Although you are quickly distracted by this because the fight that you're in has taken you rather closer to the shoreline than where you first joined the battle. And you now detect new, lesser enemies joining the fray. They're vaguely familiar to you, actually. No, you have seen these before. It's been a little while.
I've eaten
But
them
they
before.
are... The things you are seeing now are the ape-like, shambling things coming up out of the surf, which you have seen before in Calavan. You have not yet actually noticed that there are also gliding snacks, though, they are around, and you will encounter them shortly enough. Whatever that sound is, though, it is messing with your ability to enrage the creatures around you. It's not making them not enraged, but some of them are now running away, which is not at all what you wanted. You also notice that there are fewer and fewer of Palaran's unworthy enemies around you, and more of the ones that can actually threaten you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to start taking some rolls here. Now, the way I'm handling this for our listeners at home is a little bit of a compromise, as so many things in the system are, between sets of rules, because you are using aspect miracles currently. Mm-hmm. So you are not vulnerable to, like, a jaguar swiping its paw at you. But you are vulnerable to any kind of miraculously empowered attack that has a sufficiently high roll. Things that essentially are using some kind of gift from Palaran to compensate for your miraculous aspect currently. So, we are going to have you make 2 rolls once I get onto the correct character sheet. We're going to have you do a coordination plus hammer, which is 6 plus a master die, and we're going to have you do a coordination plus dodge, which is 4.
The master die coordination plus hammer is going to be 2 10s.
Very nice.
And no matches for the second one.
No dodges. All right. So, you are, unsurprisingly, very effectively laying waste around you at pretty much all times. If anything gets close enough to you that can be hit without penetration, you are destroying it. However, there are enough of them now, and enough of them have empowered abilities that you have started to not escape unscathed. And you're going to take 1 killing and 1 shock to your right arm to represent the almost unnoticed strikes that do hit you.
Can
And
I
we'll sort of
do a miracle now that more of the fun ones are near me?
certainly. What do you have in mind?
Hold on, so 1 killing and 1 shock to
Right arm.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure. So I've already created a maelstrom of fury that I have essentially maintained around myself, right? Would it count as like a lesser change to add a degree of penetration to that fury, make it more potent?
So the way that penetration works is that it is on top of, it's basically adding levels to the miracle. So if you're doing lesser creation, that's at what, 2, I think? Then you could go up to 2 penetration without spending miracle points on it.
Okay.
Because you have a domain of 4.
So I'd have to recast the doodad. Recast the miracle, sorry.
Yeah. You do the thing. I mean, miracles and especially familiar ones are relatively de rigueur for you. So you can just up it to 2, in which case, yeah, you can start getting some of those empowered, and even maybe a couple of the miraculous creatures in your Fury Maelstrom, which does significant damage to the cohesion of the force that's around you. Good call. Who says that you can't strategize while angry? So we'll leave Lissa turning the tide once again near the beach for the moment and return to that dark room. Romnet, you are getting a clearer and clearer sound of the, I mean, singing, but it's not music, and that the dissonance is bothering you as much as anything. You have also noticed that all of the, sort of furor around the manor has quieted, though you're not sure if it's because people have left or hunkering down or if they're harmed in some way. You couldn't really make out what happened.
I will start reciting to myself some manner of, like, mantra of Mott or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just to sort of center myself, possibly against the what I know apparently out of character now to be coming from the sea.
Go ahead and roll a sense plus counterspell for that. That's going to be 4 plus a master die.
Three 9s.
All right. For
including
now,
the master die.
You are well and truly centered. Dusk. It takes you a moment to realize that you're now gripping the boon from Mott hard enough that your hand is dripping blood down it, though you don't feel any pain. You have an awareness, like a proprioception of your body, but the only sensations, the only tactile sensations that you're getting in any way, shape, or form, almost the only physical sense that you're getting is from your grip on the boon in your hand. You have reached some sort of maximum equilibrium with the gathering of power, and you've shaped it into the tool that you wish it to be. Now, all it needs is that extra boost. And you know that it will come from your boon. I would like you... Let's see. I would like you to roll for me a body plus knowledge, 2 stats together. Do that occasionally, though not often. That's going to be 5 dice for you.
Okay. That is, wow, I'm rolling well today. That is 2 7s.
2 7s. Okay. You tighten your grip beyond what you think your mortal body can handle on this obsidian trinket, the bladed goblet. Lose an aspect miracle point as your grip gets fueled. You feel it not so much give as shift against itself in your hand, and you know that it is splintering. Cracks are spider webbing through it, and you can feel the power starting to leak out and into you. And it is... Your first thought is that it is intoxicating. But it's actually quite a lot more than that. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit unprecedented here on the podcast. I am going to ask you, Drew, to join me in our side chat channel on Discord for a brief conversation. Des, Robin, we will be back shortly.
Bye.
Have fun, Drew.
See you soon. Oh, I think I will.
Good luck storming the castle.
Goodbye.
I'm going to be scrutinizing Drew's face when they get back.
Unclear if he knows anything more than we do, but
Yeah.
he'll have had some time with God.
I bet if I did something, we could actually hear what they're talking about.
All right.
Okay.
As you squeeze this obsidian goblet with a blade coming out of the other end of it, as you feel it start to spider web, at first you just are sort of in a relatively standard, oh, the power. And then you realize that it's not exactly flowing into you so much as it is sweeping you with it. And if you had to describe it, it is sweeping you up. Now, there's not really three-dimensional space in the landscape that you are looking at right now, but up the hierarchy, you are ascending beyond the existence, the perspective of a nobilis. You are, however temporarily, experiencing more and more of a Mott's eye view. It is very difficult to make sense of, but by the time you realize what's happening, the goblet in your hand has crumbled, and as though in slow motion, the pieces of obsidian are falling between your fingers and out of your palm. You can see them individually tumbling, catching light that isn't there. Is there anything in particular you wish to direct your attention to with this perspective?
I want, more than perhaps anything, to stay completely focused on Palaran and the task at hand, but I think out of the corner of my eye, or whatever the divine, increasingly divine equivalent of thereof might be, my attention goes to that other presence.
Interesting. Glancing that way, you perceive it fragmentarily as flowing up from the abyssal depths of the sea. But it is, even with this perspective, hard to maintain your attention on more than the power that you are bringing to bear.
Mm-hmm.
Which tells you something about the scale of what you're doing, distantly in a detached way. But as the power from your boon takes shape more fully, you also become aware that it is impossible not to be distracted.
This is a very prolonged conversation / scene? Question mark?
Yeah. In character, I worry.
Yeah. I have no worries in character right now, but...
Yes, you have at best irritants.
You feel something above you, higher even in the hierarchy than your Moth's Eye view provides you now. No. You realize you are in a unique position to perceive this, because it is not a thing. It is an absence of a thing. There was once something, someone. You're not sure. There was a step in the hierarchy higher than this one. And like a vacuum yearning to be filled, pulling all into it, always, it tugs, it pulls, it yanks, it draws, it lures. It is impossible to ignore, in the way that someone constantly exerting a steady force on a leash around your neck would be impossible to ignore. You are pulled toward it. You need to go. Fortunately, you can't. You don't have the power to make the jump. And so you are able to wrench at least part of your attention from it.
I think I'm suddenly very afraid that I've been drawn up into something that I have no context for, and that may have rules I can't possibly understand, and that may have forces to which I am, at the very least, a novice, and worse perhaps, food. So I'm gripped with a sudden redoubling of my urge to do the deed. And the boon was a goblet and the boon was a blade, and now it is neither. But in my mind's eye, I'm drinking from it, and I'm driving it down into the land of Palaran, and I'm closing the grasp of my other hand around the country until my fist is tight like the new borders that I wish to create.
Very well. We're going to take one more step here inside chat with that.
Yeah.
You reshape reality according to your will. You rip chunks out of it. And a part of you that isn't being called by the absence above and isn't being focused on your act below is giddy with the feeling of potency that you get from being able to just tear the world like this. And as it comes loose and begins to knit itself back together, you feel that source of power out to one side flash and interpose itself like a foot in a closing door. As reality knits itself back together, you are almost entirely successful. And you're not sure what they did, but they kind of tacked just a little rider, like a kick me sign on the back of somebody passing by, to your miracle. And then everything crashes back down to a more normal level, and we will proceed back to general. See you on the other side.
See you there.
They're back!
We're back.
We are.
Nothing of note happened.
Clearly.
Absolutely nothing,
Clearly.
I'm sure.
So, Ramnet.
Good poker face.
You hear, after a moment, the table splinter. You hear the obsidian goblet grasped in Dosk's other hand shatter, and its pieces fall like dust and pebbles to the table and to the floor.
I'm glad I resisted the urge to hold his hand.
I
Good
like your
call.
hands where they are, thanks.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. You keep up your mantra. Everything seems to be going according to plan. Dusk. Your senses are in flux. You can survey what seems to have happened, and you can try to get fragmentary pieces of it. And then you feel something that perhaps the best analogy I can come up with is, you know how sometimes when a team wins a game, they pour the Gatorade tank over their coach? Well, what if that was a dump truck? So, Ramnet, you hear after a moment a sound from Dusk that combines surprise and a little bit of alarm and confusion with maybe also some jubilation. Do you want to give a try at making that sound, Drew?
Yeah, that's me triggering the site there.
All right. Yeah, you can go ahead and we already had the roll for the spell. If you want to go ahead and roll sense plus sight 5 dice.
It should be eerie, so 7 dice.
My bad. Yes, it is eerie, 7 dice.
So
yeah, that's just me.
Is 2 8s.
All right. You turn your head, you trigger your spell, you take in the scene before you. Dusk stands somewhat unsteadily next to a partially ruined table and a small pile of obsidian dust. In one bleeding hand where he used to have the obsidian goblet / blade, he now holds something green. It's hard to tell. He's swaying a little and his face looks a little bit confused. He seems not to be looking at anything in the room, but he also doesn't seem to be in danger, not immediately, not that you can see.
Okay.
He is somewhat luminous would be the wrong word, but there's almost like a heat haze coming off of him to your eerie sight.
Okay.
Let us turn to Mavia for a moment. First, let us also have another round of dodge and hammer rolls from Mavia. 1 each, please.
That's a lot of dice. Wait, that's a lot of dice. Sorry.
That was a Mavia humble brag, dear listener.
Yeah, coordination plus hammer for Mavia is 6 plus a master die, and coordination
Is
plus
with
dodge
their
is
height
4.
more important here for coordination?
Well, since you are, is this with the dodge or with the hammer?
With the hammer.
In that case, height is going to do more damage. Width is going to hit more things.
Ooh, because I have 2s in triplicate, but I also have 2. I can make that be 4 2s.
4 2s or 3 10s.
I could go for 2 10s.
I think in this case, 4 2s is going to help you clear out the riffraff more.
Okay, I'll go for that.
Okay. And then if you could get that dodge for me.
And that is 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 5s.
2 5s.
Oh,
that's
rolls.
Excellent. Yeah, shockingly, I was not expecting this. You managed to avoid meaningful damage while you lay waste to all of that around you. At the edge of the battle here, you have a sort of periphery around you that things are hesitant to enter at all at this point, unsure. But some of the humans and fully miraculous monsters, those with Octoratases, have sort of formed a perimeter around you and are starting to coordinate. And sure enough, a woman with the lower half of a snake, hair made of snakes, and a tongue that is a snake, comes slithering up from one side. And on the other side, a hulking giant of a man with bull hooves and a bull head. And huge curved horns, but incongruously razor-sharp teeth, and a sort of bony, almost human skull growth at the top of his head, sort of steps forward. They're on opposite sides of you, and they're looking at each other as though to coordinate. You have a moment to seize the initiative here, seeing as they are wary of you.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't have a plan in mind because I thought this was the rolls. Let me see. So, you know, I'm just gonna keep doing Lesser Creation of Furies here.
Sure.
But I want the very ground they walk on to take umbrage to their parents, even though the snake lady I can appreciate. So I'm gonna do a Lesser Creation of Fury just to imbalance those around me further and make my waste that I'm or make the waste that I am causing more of a dominion over them.
Okay. So the ground heaves and buckles and throws them off balance, and they don't seem particularly affected by your aura of fury, or at the very least they're fighting the effects off, but they are now staggered, if you will. If you want to make a direct attack, you will not get a better opportunity than this.
Mm-hmm. So, can I... When you're asking me for dodges, I should always ask for a slam. That's what I'm learning right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that was one of my...
Yeah, I will admit that when you said that, I remembered that you had the snake on coils, but I don't have all of the available spells and martial paths and things committed to memory, I admit.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. Because it seems like I can almost chain those slams. But I will attempt to... I guess the bigger one would be more of interest to me right now, so I'll probably attempt to slam the bull.
Okay. So that's going to be a body plus fight roll. And you can take an extra die on that because the bull is staggered, so that's going to be 6 dice total for you.
Okay. And it'll be, not that it matters, but it's timed as though Wet was 4 too.
Correct.
If I get any matches. Which I did, 2 7s.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, you slam into the bull creature, driving it to the ground, and you feel ribs crack. Even without you thinking about it, your tendrils kind of, sort of sail out from you and start, enraging those in the vicinity of the bull's side of the circle. And I should have thought about it before, but this, I think, accords with the way that Mavia works as a creature primarily of impulse. As you slam into the bull's Octoritas, it burns 2 spirit miracle points as you penetrate it, much to the bull's surprise. And
of mine?
Yes, you lose 2 spirit miracle points, basically to crash through the Octoritas of the bull monster and shock it by driving it to the ground, much to the dismay of the bull and its ribs. You sort of push yourself up to resume the attack, and then you feel the wave, the seismic shift pass through the army. Something has changed. That unified feeling, that slimy bitterness shatters. And all suddenly becomes glorious chaos. You are a little distracted, though, because there is also a massive earthquake while this happens. And, Mavia, not easy to distract. However, the very ground beneath her feet starting to behave in a way that she did not cause it to, somewhat distracting. That said, you don't let go of the bull creature. And
some things are important.
Yeah. You sort of revel in the sudden chaos around you as the army loses its cohesion, and the fight between the creatures from the sea and the creatures from the jungle sort of becomes less of a battle and more of swirling carnage and melee. The bull, insofar as its face can show fear, is staring up at you with abject terror. And it is perhaps not a surprise to you, to the listeners, to anybody, but you find that you are grinning. Dusk. Your hand has fully clenched. All of the pieces of the bladed goblet have fallen from it. The effect of your miracle is complete, perhaps even absolute. And turning your head in that sort of odd slow motion, you see that you are still holding something, apparently embedded in the obsidian and miraculously whole, despite the obsidian crumbling all around it, is a plant. A nettle.
Nope. Well, actually, this is good for us because he's holding this. Never mind. Disregard my knee-jerk reaction for the last time a nettle appeared.
As you watch the force of your hand around this miraculously intact nettle crushes it, and for the second time in a very brief interval, your whole being is opened to tremendous power. This, though, is not from Mott. It is both alien and familiar. You realize that you have, well, done something to Palaran himself. Mavia, as you are throttling this bull man, you feel an elation bubble up within you. And you could swear you actually hear a voice. Only the second time somebody has tried to communicate with you that you can remember, the first being Romulus. It's familiar, and you actually recognize it. It resonates with something deep in your soul. Though it is distant and perhaps a little faint, it says, "Very well done, my daughter. Harry them into the sea, and you shall be rewarded. We are flush with power," and you can feel it. The power flowing through you, along with the endorsement of all that you have wrought. Almost before you realize it, you're on your feet, the ruined bull man below you.
I am definitely pushing all of them into the ocean after that. I'm going to do a major creation of fury, which I think will be 3 domain miracle points.
That sounds correct.
Okay.
Let me just double check there. For domain miracles, major creations are 7. Yes, 3 miracle points indeed.
Okay.
Major creation of fury. Describe the results of your tidal wave of fury here.
I am going to take the command of this voice rather literally and create fury in the very earth beneath the feet of the combatants that will drive them into the sea.
You notice in a sort of distant way that there's more of it than there was. The sea was on one side of you previously, now it's on 2. You take no especial notice of this, but it's useful because it gives you a wider arc, and the very earth you can actually see simultaneously as the physical reality, all of the spirits, tutelary spirits of the earth, the gnomes, battering your enemies, your adversaries, toward the sea. Jungle and oceanic alike, they are driven before you in an ever-widening arc. And you hear laughter, only to realize that it is your own. Dusk. I wasn't sure if this would be necessary, but I would like you to join me in side chat again.
Okay.
What is going on?
I mean, Dusk just nettled a god.
Yeah.
What happens when you nettle a god when you take miracle points away from
yeah, you
a
steal all the
mere
miracle
nobilis?
points from
Like, what do you take in that sense?
I'm just waiting for my reward for pushing everything into the ocean.
You're killing Robin.
That's okay. It's for a good cause.
That's fair. That's fair. It's what she would want.
You are currently a conduit for an unknown percentage of the power of the god that you have, well, injured. You're not entirely sure what the damage Imperators take is like.
Sure.
But you've done something here that has given you, well, I would say access, but has poured into you a degree of power that you have trouble conceptualizing, both because it's not actually like a liquid filling a balloon, and also because it's that matter of abstract scale again. So, you can't simply store it. But you do have a choice, more or less, of what you do with it. It's got to go somewhere. So you could, you perceive, just let it flow past you, through you, out somewhere. No telling what happens to it, but at least you're not holding on to it. You could pass it through your connection to Mott. You could give Mott this power, basically turning it into a siphon or an aqueduct of some sort pointed at Mott. This is relatively easy, as you are in some way a part of Mott.
Mm-hmm.
More difficult, but you think possible. You could pull it into yourself, not storing it for later, but adding it to your very nature. you have no idea what this would do to you. The thought is exciting, but also terrifying. Those are the things that occur to you. If you, as a player, can come up with something very clever that I did not think of, I'm open to suggestions, but reserve the right of veto.
Sure. That's fair. So this power is not just on a scale that probably not only I can't, it's a scale I can't conceive, but also a scale that it doesn't exist in numerical form as far as the game goes, right? Like,
it is beyond the scale on which Nobilis, the characters in the game, and Nobilis, the game, really operates.
I think in this moment, the only choice seems to be the choice that would have previously been impossible, which is that I need this power. But I am suddenly, once again, keenly aware of the vacuum that exists above everything I understand to be the powers of the universe. And I think all that stops me is I see if I can still feel that tugging at me, or if I am already, once again, beneath its notice, whatever it is.
As you consider bringing this power into your being, that absence yawns open above you again. Simply the intent sort of elevates you, but instead of having like a Mot's eye view, this is maybe more of a glimpse of what it would be like to be an imperator. And you realize that that's probably what happens if you take this power into yourself. That you elevate yourself to the level of an imperator. You become one of the gods. You have no idea what that would mean. But I'm willing to intrude on the moment a little bit in a metagame fashion to let you know that this would mean rolling a new character. Dask would become an imperator, and you would play as one of Dask's nobilis.
Do I know this in the moment?
In character, in the moment, you feel that what you are witnessing as the possibility and the vacuum at the top of creation sort of opens to you is that taking this power into you will make you alike unto Mott.
Right. All right. Should I make this decision? I should make this decision here before we rejoin the group, and then they'll just see the results. You feel free to cut out this silence while I actually think about this for a second.
Sure. In fact, I may actually take the opportunity to pop back over real quick.
Yeah, you're good.
I won't be gone.
Leave me alone for a second. That's fine. That would actually make perfect sense if I missed something while I was doing this over. So sure.
Indeed. Yeah. Hello.
Hello, welcome back.
I will be popping back to Drew in just a moment, but he's otherwise engaged.
What is going
We'll find out, maybe.
Just wanted to kind of do a little bit of scene setting here. Mavia, you have driven all in your vicinity into the sea, and most of both sides is running from you pell-mell. This feels amazing. And moreover, in your experience, this is normally when you would begin to recede. But both your abject triumph and this unknown current of energy running through you, and something leaning a little bit on a piece of your soul, keeps you right there. It's it's perhaps a little bit calmer than you're used to feeling, but it is also rather nice to be less ephemeral. It will take some getting used to, but you don't think you would mind getting used to it. At least once in a while. Romnet. Dusk has gone very still and quiet. And it seems like maybe this is a good thing. The heat haze in your eerie sight coming off of him has intensified. But it doesn't seem to be harming him in any way.
Okay.
I'm going to go check in on Drew.
Hello again.
Hello. How goes it?
You're you do stuff to my brain in and out of games. I tell you what. So I feel the void above, as I've come to call it in my head, gasp open at the very idea of me taking on this power. Do I feel anything from Mott, or is Mott conspicuously absent as per usual?
That's a good question. You do feel from Mott a sort of pulling. And had you not this power pending within you in this endless moment, you might be fully compelled by this force that Mott is exerting on you. As it is now, it is as though a friend is tugging on your wrist while you stop to watch something interesting.
I suppose I should say out loud what I'm thinking.
May not be a
which
bad
is
idea.
that this is a kind of death. It's as much of a death for a mortal or a semi-mortal as anything can be. And I don't know that what I want above all is power. But I'm quite certain that I don't trust whoever I would give it to with it.
If it weighs into your considerations at all, you have already enough experience with this void above to know that if you do ascend in this way, you will feel that all the time. It will always be pulling on you. I think I described it earlier as a steady pressure on a leash around your neck, pulling you in a direction. It will be constant. You will be very powerful, and it will not give power directly to Mott or who or whatever might collect it from the ether. But in-game, it would come with a price, and metagame, it'd be a pretty big shakeup.
Yeah. Metagame, it's a little bit too weird to not at least consider, if that makes sense.
That makes sense to me.
Pushing at the edges of this system. If you'll indulge me, I'm looking at my character sheet, and toward the top of it is something that underpins a lot of why Dosk is the way he is, but that hasn't come up mechanically a whole lot in this campaign, and that would be my craving, which reads, Dosk is curious beyond any reference to prudence, or to the practical use of the knowledge in question, or to anything resembling good sense. He has a difficult time leaving any question unanswered. So given that, and given this peek at the greater shape of things and the possibility of understanding it better, however remote, and even if it means exchanging one yoke for another, I think in this moment, I, Drew, and he, Dosk, we are absolutely united in the certainty that we simply cannot not know. All right. I think most of Lissa and of Romnet, and oddly enough of Ruta, and all of the things I'm leaving undone. But I'm also keenly aware of the extraordinary circumstances I'm in and the fact that this is not an opportunity like to come along again, and I take the power.
All right. Let's rejoin the others. Here we are. So, Mavia, you are standing exultant, triumphant, power thrumming through you. And then, with a sensation like tearing fabric, but in your soul, the power is ripped away. And you don't quite black out, but you can't stand up anymore. Something, somewhere, has gone awry. Romnet, you watch as suddenly all of that heat-like haze around Dask seems to whip into almost a funnel cloud, sucked away as though by a stove hood up. Dask opens his eyes, looks around and sees you. His mouth opens as if to say something, and then with a soft pop of inrushing air, he is gone.
Oh, what the fuck? That is in character.
As if in answer to your question, you hear in your mind, in the way that Mott speaks to you sometimes, possibly the clearest thing that Mott has ever said to you. First, a muffled shit.
That's a great sign.
Followed by a more immediate and formal treachery. He must be destroyed. And then you black out. Dask, this is perhaps the most painful thing that you can imagine having happened. The power that you took, the power that you channeled into yourself from Palaran, is far too big for your soul. And it starts to push the shard of Mott out of your soul, which is alarming because it would mean fully and immediately that you would die. But then it saturates that shard, and you feel it tear away from Mott. For a moment, you are your own man again. And in the next moment, you are no man at all. In very short order, that tugging, that inexorable pull from above settles in, and you feel yourself and your senses expand. You feel yourself disembodied, but you realize that you could have a body again. The shard of your soul has grown. It encompasses now not just nothing, other inchoate forms taking shape along it, beside it, in parallel to it. It will take you some time to get used to your new existence as a god. And that's where we'll end our session. So before we officially wrap up here, if Drew, you would like to take a moment to explain to our players and our listeners what this means in a mechanical sense for you and the campaign going forward.
So, first and foremost, I'm sorry this happened during the session when Den bought me dinner, because Den is going to be really mad at me. But essentially, I took in the power from the Boon of Mott and succeeded beyond even my intentions. I think I did what I meant to do and more, and got a peek at the wider cosmos over inside chat. And the power that I took in was too much. So I could just let it go, or I could give it to Mott, or I could try and hold it. And in trying to hold it, I became something else, something that's off the chart as far as characters in this game go. And so I think going forward, my actual play is going to have to be as someone other than Dosk. Dosk has ascended past where player characters can reasonably tread. Is that a reasonable summary, Adam?
Indeed, yes. My intention here is that the next time Drew is on screen as a player character, he will be Dosk's first nobilis.
Holy cow.
Fascinating. And also, I am so conflicted.
Yes,
by this, I mean
so.
specifically in character.
Yeah.
Since we had previously been talking about you taking me as a bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's definitely it leaves a lot undone as far as mortal life goes. But I think, I mean, you can hear it in the episode, but I think ultimately the decision was that with this war of gods happening, there's no one I would feel good giving that much power to. So the only choice was to take it on, whatever the consequences were. And they turned out to be godhood. So,
whoops.
I feel, we should acknowledge this is kind of character death. It's just, with a big old asterisk, a divine asterisk.
Yeah. It's almost character graduation, but we'll talk about it in the peaks.
Sure. Yes.
Where we do all of this kind of conversation, dear listener. That's patreon.com/dicepunks.
Indeed.
Nothing I can't ruin with a good shill. Let's wind down. Everybody can get one mortal experience point, and
for whatever that means for Dosk now.
I think there's a big exception to that statement. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
his pool should carry over.
Yeah,
I
was going to say Drew can take a mortal experience point there. And I'm also going to rule in this extraordinary instance that everybody can get a divine experience point, including Romnet.
Oh.
Weird. Cool.
It is weird. We will discuss how that goes in the future. But with that, I think our session of Dice Punks is concluded. I hope you players, listeners, enjoyed it as much as I did. I really enjoyed this one. And I hope that everyone will join us next time. If you're hearing us now, then you probably know where to listen to this. I'm very sorry. I know how delicately formatted these things can be.
You think you got character sheet problems.
All right, well, you probably know where you can listen to this if you're hearing us now. We could be found almost any place one can listen to podcasts, as well as on the wider web at dicepunks.com and on Twitter as @dicepunks. With that, for now, regretfully, I think we're ready to say farewell. So say goodbye to the kind folks at home, players.
Thanks for listening, and please direct all hate mail at the Dice Punks Twitter. No, don't actually do that.
I mean, I'm going to give you the login, and you can handle it.
Fair enough. You'll be yelling at me. Feel free.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and our inbox is always open. That is not a pickup line in this case.
Thanks for listening, folks, and try to make sure that your relationships stay undivided in their loyalties.
Here, here. And I'm actually going to promote something to this part of the episode instead of later in the post-roll where we usually live. This episode will probably feature our last Dosk fact at the very end. So
that's
please listen all the way to it. Yeah.
Yeah, the news is worse. I was so wrapped up in this episode, I don't have one yet, so I'll need to record it after, but I'll make sure everyone hears it. Yeah.
And in acknowledgement of the momentousness of this, and because I had banked a few, as the poet once says, and two ended up applying here, as the poet once said to Mavia, hulking, smashing, I come crashing, nothing like when I was small. I am unstoppable. I am the cannonball.
Very good. Very, very
And
good.
as the poet once said to Dosk and Romnet, when they rise up, soon they will fall again, like the angels waiting for a descent. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in, and stick around through the admin stuff for the very last Dosk fact we'll ever have. The songs in this episode, theme of the Dice Punks and its acoustic version, were written and recorded by the imperator of nothing himself, Drew. Cover art is by Joanne, who has appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet, where she goes by Anything So's Embroidery. Site design and graphics for dicepunks.com are by Robin, the player behind Mavia, the unconquerable, furious queen. Rain and the one-roll engine it runs on were created by Greg Stolze, whose work can be found in a wide variety of cool places, but I'll point you toward gregstolze.com. Nobilis was created by Jenna Caterin Moran and can be found alongside much of her other really intriguing work both in and outside of tabletop roleplaying at afarandsunlessland.wordpress.com. Links to both systems and authors can be found on the Punk Grimoire section of our website, dicepunks.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, well, that's reward enough on its own, really. But if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks after show for episodes 1 and following. This one may be particularly worth listening to. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then, remember, subtlety is for cowards.
There are upsides to being a god, or so I hope, at least. But the process of becoming one is a lot more abrupt than I'd imagined. You don't necessarily get to tie up loose ends. In theory, you have an abundance of time, but also your time is up. There have been tiers who thought they were gods, no doubt. Several of them were in the manor this morning. But even they would be obliged to admit that this is new. In that same way that it can be fun to imagine the end of the world because it would be a time when you no longer have to worry about the end of the world, it's easy to imagine every question being answered after transcending. But no, it's mostly things left unanswered. You don't move on when you're done. You move on when you know, bone deep, that there's nothing else you can do. With apologies and not without regrets, that is a Doskfakt.